All right, it's time. It's time. It's exciting. It's time for the Watchers on the Wall Awards. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We had some minor technical issues, and thankfully, we had superstar YouTuber here, Joe Magician, to help us out.
Superstar.
Yeah. Because apparently YouTube decided to change everything since last year, which is the last time I used YouTube. So, yes, so we sorted that all out and we are ready for the awards show. So thank you for your patience and we are ready to go. But before we dive into the awards and all of the usual good stuff we like to do, yes, I just want to kind of explain. Ooh, there's a little hiccup there. I'm hearing a little echo. I just want to tell everyone a little bit about how things are going to go this evening. So with the Watchers on the Wall Awards, we usually how it works is we get all of the nominations from the readers. So these are not awards that we choose, despite the name. This is actually entirely chosen by the community. So this is definitely, passion coming from the fans. And it's pretty amazing. Everyone puts their heart into it. And all the nominations, all the votes, everything comes from them. And it takes months, but we whittle it down to find the ultimate chosen. And there is a lot of love out there, despite, a lot of sort of heartache and, sometimes negativity and pain associated with the last season. So there is good stuff happening in spite of it all. We're also going to have some giveaways this evening because we love our giveaways here. There'll be 4 actually throughout the time, but actually we're going to have one right now. We did promise there would be one for the very first commenter on the post. So the prize for the very first person to comment is going to be that new Arya Funko figure where she has the double-headed sort of spear that she made in the Long Night. So let's find out who won that. That's a fellow named Steve. All right. Congratulations, Steve. You're the winner of the first giveaway of the evening. Yay, Steve. I'm flapping a Band-Aid around.
Oh, what the? No. Worst way to celebrate ever.
Band-Aids. I know. Sorry. I have a paper cut. I know. So, all right. So I do have a fabulous list of categories to share. So I thought we'd start off with a nice juicy category this evening. Does anyone else want to read the nominations for Best Supporting Actor of Season 8?
Oh, I'm happy to.
Okay. Petra, take us away.
All right. 1 second. Let me pull it up. Sorry. Oh, no. A moment. Oh, it's going so well. 1 second. La, 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 la. All right. I'm the worst. All right. There we go. I'm sorry about that.
You're the best.
All right. Our nominations were Alfie Allen as Theon Greyjoy, Rory McCann as Sandor Clegane, Ian Glenn as Jorah Mormont, John Bradley as Samwell Tarly, and Liam Cunningham as Davos Seaworth.
Woo! All right. Favorites? Surprises?
I mean, my allegiance goes without saying at this point, so
I'm pretty sure my allegiance also goes without saying.
No, I've been steadily mourning Theon since his last scene, so that's one of my absolute easiest votes. Was as much as I love the others, and I feel like John Bradley is one of the most underappreciated performers on the show. I still had to vote for Alfie for that one.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone loves Alfie. Alfie's great. I would have gone with John though. I thought they asked him to do a lot more heavy lifting this season than they normally do. Like what he was doing was extremely plot relevant, and he had to try and sell the whole RLJ thing, and sell that Daenerys was dangerous at the same time. And it's like, John, just go. You can do this. Take care of this. You got it, bro.
His reaction to learning about first his father's death and then his brother's death is amazing. There's a level of grief, and then there's another level of grief, and it's so well done, that moment.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes.
Like a proper actor's beat, right there when you take it, let it sit with you. How does that change the next thing?
I'm just sad that the true best supporting actor Braun was not on the poll.
He's the best at supporting. I'll say that, and you know what I mean. Like he really does. Like he's one of those guys that, first of all, he's like a great friend in the way that he like, even when he's trying to kill you, he's like everybody's best buddy. But I mean, also like Jerome Flynn, seriously, is just, for a guy who was like a singer and has all had these other careers, you would never have predicted he would have turned out to be such a great actor. I mean, I know he's not even nominated, but like, I mean, remember, I don't know, I know some of you guys came along to the fandom a little bit later, but when he was cast, people were mad as hell. They were like, that guy from Robson and Jerome, what the F? Like,
I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah.
Are people ever happy about casting announcements?
No one's ever happy about anything.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were not happy. But then they released a picture of him in character, and people were like, okay, maybe. So, yeah. So let's find out who the winner was.
The winner is Alfie Allen as Theon Greyjoy with 47.53% of the vote. So,
woo! Yay! Woo! Well earned, a commanding lead.
I wasn't able to vote more than once, so
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because like I handle the polls, so I kind of, I watched that one live, and he had that large a lead from the beginning. I think it was an even larger lead. But yeah, he had it in the bag from the get-go. So yeah. All right.
He did a really good job with that. In particular, like it came out later that they initially thought Jon was going to do that, and instead they gave it to Theon. And normally that would be the kind of thing where it's like kind of disappointing, like, oh, this was supposed to be Jon Snow's big moment, but instead Alfie Allen stole the episode with his performance in it.
Do you mean Jon was going to do the run at?
He was going to face down with the Night King in the Godswood, and they split it up to Arya and Theon.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
It's better they did it with Theon.
Yep.
Yeah.
It worked really well for him.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jon gets enough things to do, so.
Yeah. And a suicide run like that, I mean, it was just, I thought it fit. I don't know. I thought it worked really well.
Yeah.
Dying in that way, that kind of atonement for him. It fit. Okay, moving on to the next. So how about Best Supporting Actress? Who'd like to handle that one? All right. David, why don't you take that one away for us?
Okay. So for Best Supporting Actress, we have 4 nominees. We have Bella Ramsey as Lyanna Mormont, Gwendoline Christie as Brienne of Tarth, Hannah Murray as Gilly, and Natalie Emmanuel as Missandei. Who's it going to be? I will just go with it because I know that. I mean, not even looking at it, I know who I think will win. I just want to throw some love for Natalie because she was not given a whole lot to do this last season, but I think a lot of it was said with just looks. Obviously, like the end of it before was just there could have been more dialogue there, and there wasn't. So with what she had, I thought it was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was rewatching Last of the Starks a couple weeks ago when I was making the posts for the award ceremonies, and I was like, I was rewatching those final scenes with her where she doesn't get a lot of dialogue, and I just kept getting chills because, like, the way, for example, the last scene where Cersei, kind of gets up in her face and is like, "Do you have any last words?" And the way you can just see her, like, taking it in and then just deciding. You can see the wheels turning. Like, it's, I think she's like just a very intelligent actress, and there you can always see like a thought process happening there. And when she just decides to spit out Dracarys, it's like, oh, like I just really felt it. So, I think she did a lot with a little. So,
And that's after they cut part of her her love story, right? After the battle, there was supposed to be more with her and Grey Worm.
Yeah.
We're leaving the Great Hall to go. Yeah. Which
Go high five.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But her line delivery of Dracarys is, I mean, it's one word, and there's a whole lot of meaning that she packs into it. And I mean, I'm still kind of salty about the way they wrote her out, so I kind of really want to kind of lean into her performance in that scene, but on principle, but also the silent performance of Missandei sort of coming to terms with what's going to happen and looking at Grey Worm and then choosing one word to be her last is it's really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the symbolism and then just the raw. I was about to start quoting Star Wars, but I'm like the raw untamed power.
Well, and it's also different. It's a different turn from Missandei because she's been so kind of calm and mild for the most part. And yet she says Dracarys, and that's a call to Daenerys. And that is, I mean, totally, you totally buy it. It's a different thing from Missandei to advocate, but in the context and Natalie's delivery, 100%, I think we're all with her in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I did really enjoy, after the episode went live, Natalie retweeted, I think, a meme about that, where she was like, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean the bells. I didn't mean burn down the city.
That sounded different in my head. I think was what, yeah,
that one.
Concept, but in application, it's a little worse. But
I was just trying to say, like, go Daenerys, not that.
Okay, well, let's find out who actually won the category then.
Oh, it's me. Oh, well, my assumption was right. Winning with 85.61% of the vote is Gwendoline Christie. Emmy-nominated Gwendoline Christie.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's not a shocker.
Unsurprising. Wouldn't you know it, Hannah Murray did not win.
Yeah. Hannah's another one who does a lot with a little. But
I know. My friend, literally, since day one she has appeared, she has been her favorite character on the show and every other Facebook post during Game of Thrones season. No love for Hannah Murray.
Yeah.
I mean, when they give Gwendoline Christie half of probably the best episode of the season, yeah.
That and the scene and the final episode when she writes Jaime's story in the book, I love her performance. I love how you can see her making each decision, because it's quite hard for her to write his story the way that she does, but there is this sort of very conscious decision to, no, he died protecting his queen, and there's so much conflict within her, and that scene has no dialogue.
Yeah.
And it is so good.
yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things where, I don't know, like I know a lot of people were not happy with, they're not happy with, of course, him dying that way, naturally, but I'm not happy with maybe that choice of phrasing. But, it seemed like a pretty good bookend to, a guy who killed his king and, but Brienne, she was doing, I think, what she saw as honorable. So it just felt that way, I think, because of Gwendoline Christie performing it that way. She sort of embodies everything in a very dignified way, even when she's like bawling. You know what I mean? Like, it's still very, I don't know, it's still very noble. You know what I mean? It's very true.
Especially in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode when she's being knighted and how she's trying to like hold it back, but then like all the joy and all that emotion of like finally being validated as who she is instead of kind of what she is such an amazing moment for her. And like one of the few times this season where like a lot of it, I sort of watched Game of Thrones like, that one I was like, yes, finally she got knighted.
Yeah.
The room full of people I was in, literally standing and cheering. You can tell the effect of that.
And she sold it so well.
the actors don't get to smile very often on the show. So her smile, you can see the tears in her eyes shining in the light, was so gratifying.
Yeah, she has grown along with the character. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was a well-deserved award from the fans. So
Yeah, most definitely.
I'll be happy to take the next category, the best visual effects.
All right, take it away.
Okay. In no particular order, we've got Daenerys making a speech to her legions where the dragon wings are spreading behind her. There's Daenerys and Drogon doing that thing that they do in King's Landing, and you know what I mean. The Dothraki charging into the army of the dead with their flaming swords. Drogon destroying the Iron Throne and then carrying away Dany's body. And finally, Jon and Daenerys, they're taking on the Night King at night by moonlight with their dragon. So that aerial combat. So those are our 5 categories.
Interesting.
All of them were so good. I mean, I remember the emotional impact of the Dothraki riding off with their flaming rocks and then all the lights extinguishing one by one. And, that's a really good visual shorthand for what's happening.
My issue with that is that there's not a lot of visual and special effects involved in that shot. Mainly it would be duplicating the Dothraki, but the fire is a practical effect. And then they actually light things on fire and then they amplify it, is my understanding. They do, there is some special effect, but there's not nearly the amount of special effects in that. Whereas with the any dragon scene, they're creating something that literally isn't there and giving it personality. And then you have to make it look like Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington are writing it and doing all these amazing things, or make it look like they're tearing apart buildings that aren't really there. So while I think the Dothraki scene is actually amazing, I think just the level of work being done, it doesn't really compare to the others in there. So that's why that was the first one that got eliminated for me. It was that's a great scene, but not for this category.
Yeah.
It did not win, we can say that much. So
I think I'm partial to either Drogon and Dany destroying King's Landing or Drogon destroying the Iron Throne and carrying her away. For the obvious reasons that the VFX are amazing, but the moment specifically when Drogon tries to rouse Dany, she does the old Simba and Mufasa moment of "Come on, you're actually dead, mommy. Come on." It's obviously affecting writing, but the fact that they can make a gigantic dragon, the movements and I guess I was going to say the sound, but that's not part of this category, that they can make him look vulnerable when he's 10 times the size of the person that he's touching is pretty amazing. Just the ability to not make him look like he's trying to eat her, to physically animate a dragon to not look hungry when he's nuzzling a dead body.
Yeah, I think you're right. The emotion really comes through that he goes from sad to kind of in disbelief, then very sad, then angry, then furious. And it's that's really good VSX if you're actually bringing across acting from a thing that does not exist, especially something like a dragon where you don't really have the same kind of facial cues as a human, where it really has to do body language and they have to make sure the muscles tense in the right way and where his eyes are looking. And I think that's a lot harder to portray. And it really made for an awesome visual effects thing, no matter what you think about what was actually happening in the scene, Yeah,
I had to separate my own critique of the content for these nominees from the actual pure VFX, because that's not two separate things entirely.
Right. Hard to do.
Probably cast my vote for Dancing in the Moonlight.
The Moonlight one was amazing.
I agree with separating it from the story and your feelings on that. Just how does it look?
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Artistically, I think it looks great.
So the winner of the category was actually Jon and Dany taking on the Night King in the moonlight with the dragons. And it won with 29.85%. So and it was only a few points higher than the next highest one. All of them did pretty well, although the Iron Throne Destruction had like the lowest score, but everything kind of came in pretty close. And I do appreciate John and Danny on that because we've been waiting for a long time for Dragons on Dragons, and we got some pretty beautiful moonlight shots of all that going on.
Yeah, I actually did vote for that one, not just because it's an action scene, of course, but because we did see a lot of that kind of personality worked in with the fighting and all that, and because they just looked like they were fully integrated into it. And I know it was like very dark. I'm not one of those people who had that darkness issue with The Long Night. I guess I just have a good TV and a good connection, but it just looked so incredible and just so well integrated with the background. And yeah, I don't know, the whole scene just blew me away. And when they go shooting up into the night sky with the moonlight lighting it up, it's just like the most extraordinary shot of maybe the whole season. So yeah, it just knocks me out.
That's one of those scenes that when I see screen caps of it, I want that screen cap like printed onto a canvas and framed for me. Because I think I had a hard time with the visibility the first time I watched it, but it is definitely one of those things that I appreciate more upon a rewatch, and certainly in screen cap form, like the composition of the shots, and yeah, the lighting and the VFX are like, it's moonlit dragons above the clouds. That is such fantastical, like, dream material.
Yeah. All right. Well. All right, we got that covered. All right, so the next couple categories are, all right, so let's do the funny ones together here. Funniest scene and funniest quote. All right, let me pull that up. I'll do that one. So for the funniest scene of season 8, the nominations are Tormund is reunited with Jon enthusiastically. There's a lot of Tormund in this category.
Yeah.
Drogon stares at Jon and Dany making out. Tormund cries to the Hound about Jaime taking Brienne from him. Tormund and Beric run into the Night's Watch at Last Hearth.
His eyes are blue.
Why is it always the blue?
And Tormund tells a tale of a giant and her milk. So what do you think?
I'm already laughing remembering the milk scene, so I think that gets my vote.
I'm laughing just because I'm plugging Tormund's name into Drogon and saying Tormund stares at Jon and Dany. Make it a 5-way category. They're all good. I really like all of these.
It's funny that Tormund is like so good for comedy on this series. I mean, he really worked very well with all these comedic activities going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the number one reason he's still alive, aside from the fact that he is their representative of the wildlings. Yeah. But I mean, they needed that comedic relief from all the sad things. So, yep. So let's see here. In this wealth of Tormund comedy, the winning scene was Tormund tells a tale of a giant and her milk.
Yay!
With 31% of the vote. Yes, that's why he's so strong.
Being retitled the best Tormund scene for season 9. Is that the wrong for?
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, that whole scene is just...
It's so good.
Yeah, he did it justice. He did it justice. Yeah.
It was exactly as gross as I thought we'd be listening to it when I was reading. I was like, Tormund, why are you telling the story, man? This is disgusting. And he just completely sold it in like the drunk guy at the end of the bar telling you the worst story he knows kind of way.
He is that guy. So. Yeah. It's the guy you want to talk to and then just back away from. Yep. So for the funniest quote of season 8, this is just the, specific lines that are funny, although there's usually some overlap. But so the nominations are Sansa Stark saying, "Uncle, please sit," from the Dragon Pit scene. And then Dolorous Ed Tollett saying, Samwell Tarly, slayer of White Walkers, lover of ladies, as if we need any more signs that the world's ending.
Can I read this one too?
Oh, yeah.
I killed a giant when I was 10. Then I climbed right into bed with his wife. When she woke up, you know what she did? Suckled me at her teat for 3 months. Thought I was a baby. That's how I got so strong. Giant's milk.
This is so inappropriate.
What an entrance to the awards, Oz. This is how you start. This is a high point.
Sorry, I'm having audio problems. That little thing, that little echo y'all heard, that was me. So I'm sorry.
Oh. Well, you might as well read the Ed and Tormund quote there.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay.
The Tyrion.
The first one.
The first one.
Oh, stay back! He's got blue eyes. I've always had blue eyes.
And then the last one is Tyrion. And he says, the last time we spoke was at Joffrey's wedding, a miserable affair. And Sansa says, it had its moments. A little bit of sly wit.
Deadpan. So,
Yeah, I love that deadpan. She's like, definitely had its moments. So what are your favorites from that or other ones?
I sort of like how meta the "he's got blue eyes" line is. There's just something inherently about. I mean, it's, you know, you got to look out for anyone with blue eyes, but inevitably that's going to make some logical kind of inconsistencies. And also the fact that this isn't funny, but it's sad, which makes it funnier, is the fact that Dolorous Ed becomes a white. So you know, he gets blue eyes before the show's over. That shouldn't make me laugh, but somehow that adds like a little bit of lemon into the wound of that line, which makes me appreciate it more.
You made me sad.
Oh,
Aw.
I really like the Ed one where he's talking to Sam and he's slayer of White Walkers, lover of ladies. It's also just so perfectly meta, especially with Sam's character, that he's such a heroic figure, and it's kind of ridiculous to everyone that knows him that this is where he's gone. It's like, what? You?
he's checked all the hero boxes.
Like, he's gonna be a hero of legend, and he's Samwell Tarly, who pissed himself like the first time you got to the wall.
Yeah.
It's a miserable affair. Probably. It's so deadpan from both of them. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the words. It's. Sorry, I think there's a lag there, or on my end or your end. I missed what you said, David, but I think it was probably on my end. I was a little laggy.
I said that I liked how they shrugged it off. Like, they're talking about something like a very big deal, but it had its moments. Just like that. It was made very well.
It's also a bit meta in that that's representing how a lot of the fans reacted to that scene. Like, in universe, it's quite serious and Tyrion gets arrested, but we were all going, yeah, choke, motherfucker, choke.
I still remember watching that. That was great.
Oh yeah.
Grab my leg. Is this happening? He had not read the books. He had no idea. Is this happening?
God, I remember too, all the people who, you know, hadn't read the books and, you know, and didn't really want spoilers being like, God, I can't stand this kid. When is he going to fucking die? Like, and you're like, I don't know. Just wait. It's coming, you know.
Wait, Sue, why do you have your phone out recording? Don't worry about it. No. Just keep watching. It's fine.
Like we treasured your virginal reactions. It used to be that way, you know?
Yep.
Simpler times.
Simpler, gentler, almost sweet, except for the part where we were recording you for laughs. But, you know, it was fun. Okay, so the winner of that category with 30.91% of the vote is Stay Back, He's Got Blue Eyes. I've always had blue eyes.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. That just, yeah, it always cracks. It does always crack me up. And this, I don't know. Something about it cracks me up. and I'm not cracking up right now, but whenever I watch it, I still crack up.
It's just such a great like Three Stooges in the haunted house type of scene.
Makes it all the more bizarre that like 2 minutes later, there's a kid impaled and screaming on a wall.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the darker things they put on the screen, it's like, we're going to set you up with a good joke, though.
Well, I think that's what made it work, right? Was that it was such a serious scene and you're waiting on something to jump out from behind the wall and it's them, and then they crack a joke about the blue eyes, and I think that's what made it hilarious.
And when they do horror movies, they want you to laugh at times because it's a nervous laughter. It kind of wires you to react. So it was a well done ending for that episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of whiplash too, it's very effective because then you kind of relax for a minute and then you go into that next scene and you're like, oh, jeez, that's horrible. So yeah, it was very effective, I think.
Yeah, it's those little things that I don't think get enough credit. I mean, because it's not like that stuff just happens. Like you plan that stuff and it happens because of a plan, not because they were just improvising. But yeah, it was very well done.
Yes, very well planned. So we're going to stop for 1 second here and do a giveaway because it is time for the giveaway. Okay. Woohoo. So yesterday I tweeted and Instagrammed out a picture of a Brienne Funko, one of the new figures of Brienne in her golden Kingsguard armor. So if you haven't seen that one, you can look on our Watchers O2 Wall and Watchers Wall Instagram. But it's a very, very nice one. So what I would like is for people watching or listening in to go to the Watchers on the Wall post there, that one right up top where the video is embedded. And yeah, what I would like you, if you want to win that Brienne Funko, all you have to do is to be the very first person to tell us which episode did Brienne of Tarth make her debut in on Game of Thrones? Give me the episode number or the episode name, either one. But it's got to be readable, no typos, you know what I mean? Or not so typo that, can't read it, but. So be the first person to give us that answer. Just one winner. So yeah, we'll continue on with announcing the awards, and hopefully someone soon enough will come along with the answer. So the next category is going to be Best Guest Actress of Season 8. And who would like to announce that one? Let's see here. Matt, do you want to do one?
Sure. So this is a tongue twister. Best Guest Actress of Season 8. We have Bea Glancy as Tila, Gemma Whalen as Yara Greyjoy, Laura Elphinstone as Nora, and Carice Van Houten as Melisandre.
Ooh.
I don't know who some of these characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Tila and Nora?
Tila, the little girl with the birthmark on her face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the one who talked to David.
Davos. She was in 2 episodes.
Fake Shireen.
Yeah.
Yes, fake Shireen.
2.0.
And Nora is the mother in the Bells episode.
Oh. Yee.
So that's the nature of the guest episode, is that it is wildly uneven. Unfortunately, it just kind of is what it is. But they're all guests.
Yeah.
People who are in like 1 or 2 episodes.
In a shortened season with so many main cast members.
I really love the moment in The Long Night when Melisandre lights the what is it, the ditch, the trench. Thank you. See, I don't know these things. You know what kind of military expertise I have. But I love that moment where she's praying and it's not happening, and then it finally the fire comes out in one blaze. And I love that. I love Carice's performance in that moment. It's kind of hard because I think she had a lot to work. She had to work a lot of information into very little material, because Melisandre kind of got thrown in at the end. I feel, she's a character with a lot of mystery, and she doesn't really sit down at any point and explain anything. But I always got the feeling like Carice knew or understood, and especially in the Long Night episode, yeah, I felt it.
Yeah, I mean, with this, obviously, with the guest categories, we have, Gemma and Carice have a lot of really good stuff to work with. They both had some really pretty amazing scenes. Gemma Whelan had some pretty, I don't know, like she had her final scenes with Alfie Allen, and they were really touching. And then early in the season, we saw her in a pretty rough shape, to the point where I was like, is she going to make it out alive? So, I think she was, had some good stuff, but Carice had that just beautiful final scenes. I mean, it was just as perfect a send off as you could ask, really, for any character. It was very heroic for a character who is as sort of controversial as Melisandre has been.
Sure.
It was. Now people are like, she's a hero. It's like, boy, you forgot about her burning a little girl, didn't you?
It's also like the most Melisandre ending ever, because it's not like at the end of the battle when everyone is rushing in and they're high-fiving each other and they're going to sing songs about each other. She just walks off into the snow and falls over dead. She never wanted to be somebody.
Exactly.
She just had this goal and she did it.
I would argue best death. I don't know. We haven't looked at it yet, but I would argue that's one of them, because for me, it was just very moving, because she fulfilled what she was supposed to do and gone. So I don't know. It was just very, very touching for me. I was like, damn, there it is.
Yeah.
She found her, finally found the faith and the emotional core that I think she was kind of missing, I think, early on, where she was kind of wobbling, where a lot of people kind of thought, was she just pushing the stance forward to be powerful? Was she trying to bring R'hllor? And in this season, just really narrowed right in. It's like, no, it's all about the mission. She let everything else go, and I thought it was really good, honestly.
Yeah, and she was good in that episode because she lit the Iraqs on fire, she lit the trench on fire, and then she lit Arya Stark on fire internally to go after the Night King. She gave Arya the courage to bounce back. So I appreciated all of that.
She also seemed like really supernatural in this season, like way more than before, like almost like she was like an angel or like something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think to some extent, it's almost like she burnt herself out, and that's probably why she was done. It was like, it's like she burnt herself from the outside in, and that's why she's like, okay, done. There's nothing left. I mean, she is several hundred years old, so she's like, I'm crispy fried. I'm done. So she did. I mean, I think she expelled tons of magic, and that was it. There's nothing left but that husk. So yeah, that's probably somewhat deliberate. You can only expel so much energy.
Kind of like a sexy Gandalf.
Exactly. Sexy Gandalf. There you go. Sexy Gandalf who takes her top off a lot, but not this season.
If only Gandalf would too. I mean, come on.
I think Ian McKellen would be up for it, to be honest.
So the audience, I think.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. All right, let's see here. Oh, and you know what? We do have a winner in the giveaway. Nymeria, with her lovely screen name, is the winner of the Brienne Funko. So congratulations. I'll get in touch with you later about getting that prize sent out to you. So the first episode for Brienne was in season 2, episode 3, when she appeared in What Is Dead May Never Die, which was a very good Ironborn episode. Yeah. All right. So
we need to announce who the best.
Oh yeah, so obviously it's Carice.
Yes,
Carice won by a mile.
Okay.
The biggest landslide, or one of them.
Yes,
That's pretty good.
yes, yes. I think in this case, the other nominees, it was more of just an acknowledgement.
Yeah, didn't know the names of 2 of them. That's not a good start.
Probably not, but that happens a lot in Game of Thrones. I mean, people don't know like Sam's name.
Well, but also I don't think Tila and Nora's names are actually spoken. So I think
They
it's one
weren't.
of those, word of God things that you have to be one of the inside crowd to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that a lot. So I don't think it's any, yeah, they do that big time.
I'm sure it was an honor for them just to be nominated. So,
Yeah.
Dave, you were screaming something and your microphone was muted. What was it?
I didn't realize that. It was exactly what I just said a second ago. I said, yeah, when you were like, people didn't know Sam's name for a while, I was like, yeah, for several years, people referred to him as John's friend.
Yeah.
Oh no!
It's like when they. No, it's like when they do.
One of the things, so I always had a lot of people watch it at my house or my apartment, and over the years, it's a really good measure of how someone who isn't me, who does not like obsessively read and like follow all these things behind the scenes, pay attention to how they react to stuff like that, and they love it, but they don't know half the characters' names or something like that. But I can tell you, Oz, you were saying how powerful Melisandre's death was when she walked onto the screen, because we had her on our like death counter of who do we think's gonna die, and like one person wrote her name down. We're like, she hasn't even shown up yet. Literally cheering from the 10 people in my apartment when she like walked in. Huge deal. Huge deal.
Aw.
Yeah.
Powerful. That's cool.
That affects people.
But did they know her name?
Yeah, I think by that point.
The one that's always topless. That one. She's back.
The red.
The Red Woman. There you go. Well, that's like in all of Oz's reviews. I mean, you always had nicknames for people.
All my favorites.
Well, yeah, there was one you didn't like, and understandably so, early in the early days. Do you remember that one? Well, don't say it, but do you remember that one?
Not really.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Michael Red Velvet. I don't.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Velvet was the Velvet was the reincarnation. The original one was a little bit untasteful or distasteful or maltasteful. So
I'm so intrigued right now.
Did I rehabilitate it?
you did, and you did it in a very nice, humble way, and just said, "Oh, that's a little bit crossing the line." And I went, "You know what? Fair enough. It is." So.
Okay, well, let's move on to the best guest actor then. Would you like to take that one, Oz?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm okay. Yeah, I'm having issues. All right. Which one are we on? I'm sorry.
Best guest actor?
Best guest actor. All right. The nominees for best guest actor are Mark Rissman as Harry Strickland.
Woo! With his elephants.
He has great hair too. I mean, my personal favorite as a teenage girl, Lino Faccioli is Robin Aaron.
Robin Aaron.
Glow up.
Nobody saw that one coming.
Body. Harry Grasby as Ned Umber.
Little Ned.
Little Ned.
Tobias Menzies as Ed Muir, because how can you not love Ed Muir?
Uncle, please sit.
Unless you're Sansa, then you're not a big fan.
And the guy with the most lines, Vladimir Furdik as the Night King.
Oh. Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, no. Guest category.
I'm having a hard time. No disrespect to Mark Rissman, but I've seen so many like gifs and screen caps of his face. He faced his death. I can't take him seriously. Now, if I were to die the way Harry went out, I would definitely make those faces. Don't get me wrong, but I cannot take that performance seriously, having seen what I've seen. And I am so sorry, Mark. In the unlikely event you watch this, I'm sorry.
Wait,
He did.
Sorry. You're really?
What?
I missed the last part. What is it you can't take seriously about him?
The Harry Strickland performance because of how he went out.
But I think that's actually really a tribute to like how well he did, because if you think about it, he's not actually being run over. Like that's actually just good.
That's
That's good.
true.
That's good acting.
That is good acting. Okay, that is fair.
And he did stand well. Most of the time, he was standing very well.
But I mean, I think it's, you just think about it, you get this opportunity to be on like the biggest show in the world, and then mostly you just have to be the target of like amazing punchlines about elephants. Like,
Oh
wait, speaking of, David, go ahead.
No, please.
Saying, speaking of punchlines, Lino Facioli and the benefits of breast milk memes brought me so much.
Oh boy, yeah. Yeah, I think he's mostly on there just as to honor his glow up. Honestly, it's just
wait. Does that mean they turn into Tormund at like some point? Like that's the arc now.
Ooh, interesting. I would be okay with a Robin Aaron sequel.
Just like a huge, massive beard.
Not all of us were our best selves when we were 6. You know.
Yeah,
well, and he owes it all to Kate Dickey's breast milk. Let's be honest.
I mean, she's pretty great. So I mean,
exactly.
I mean, there's always that part of me that felt bad for him, as terrible a child as he was. Yeah, I mean, not Lino, the kid, Robin. So you kind of feel like it's kind of cool that he survived, because you just assumed that Littlefinger would kill him or he would die naturally from sickness. So you're like, he lives. Oh, good for him. Like, so that's kind of cool that he lives. The unlikely little shit.
And wears a cape. Of course, he wears a cape.
Oh, can I mention an acting moment from him when they're all going around the circle and they're saying, I, we agree to Bran the Broken. Mm-hmm. I do like his little moment of like, he kind of looks at whoever voted before him and kind of goes, I don't really give a shit, but I'll just join the bandwagon. I'm like, that's good on you, Robin. Good. But that was a nice little acting moment of like, what kind of man has he grown into? This kind of man.
Real character development there.
It's like he looked up from Twitter. He's like, oh yeah, sure. Cool. Was Qyburn eligible for this category, or was he more in supporting actor?
He's supporting actor. He's in pretty much every episode until he got killed off. So yeah. Yep. And then let's see here. Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, I think I voted for Tobias Menzies just because I just love him so much. Like he's only in like one episode, but like he's just so great. Like he like seriously has the temerity to like, and he's only in that one scene, and yet you see that complete character he creates. Like this idiot, like, but he's this lovable idiot. Like, you're like, oh, you tried. Like,
now sit down.
Yeah, now sit down.
He's the well-meaning idiot that Sue will pat on the head very nicely. Well done.
He's so cute. So cute. But I mean, I just think he's such a good actor. And I mean, you see him in different roles and you can't believe it's the same guy. So, yeah.
When I see him in other things, it's that moment where I turn into my mom and I'm like, oh, that's the guy. Like, oh, he's not that person all the time.
Who's the Brutus? Was that Patrick?
Yeah, Brutus, yeah.
I've been watching him since 2006.
All right, hipster David, we get it.
All right, so who actually won the category?
So the winner of Best Guest Actor of Season 8 with 61% of the vote was Vladimir Furtick as the Night King.
Woo!
I follow Vladimir on Twitter.
Wait, the real one or the fake
Interesting fella.
He's verified now.
The actor, the stuntman, the guy, and he probably the performing alone because he is so impassive most of the time. I probably wouldn't give him mind, except watching his stunt work and a lot of the behind the scenes work that goes into those fight scene coordinations. Like, I so appreciate his craft now. And it's something that probably I wouldn't conscientiously think about. But I know the awards for actor and not stuntman. But even so, I'm like, oh, holy shit. There's like, I appreciate this level to this component of television making that I just didn't before. So good on you, Vlad. Also, his performance when he's getting turned into the Night King, that is horrifying. And I don't understand why that moment isn't up there with the Human Centipede as being one of those truly horrific body horror moments. Like, Good on you for like capturing the horror of a man who's about to get turned into something horrific, and he probably didn't do anything wrong to deserve it. Like, well done, Vlad.
No, Petra, I agree with you. Like, if he doesn't post that stuff on his social media, you don't realize like what all goes into that. I mean, everybody, we're so used to, I think we're spoiled as to how much choreography and how much practice goes into all that stuff. And that's why I enjoy watching him, because I'm like, the dude's a professional. And we just take it for granted because we see, so many CGI things, and the guy's ripping it. So yeah, it's really cool. If you don't follow him, you should, because it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think I sort of twigged to the fact of how good he was when I realized that he was the stunt double for Arthur Dane. And you're like, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, that's what they're hiding under there. So I always kind of wish they were doing more with that. But then it was like, well, I guess that doesn't necessarily suit the character to be fast moving and, all that.
He was also the first White Walker. The one that John kills at Hardhome.
Yeah, he's the one at Hardhome. But
yeah.
There was sort of, sometimes I don't know, like sometimes they'll use one guy for a face and then use another guy for stunt doubles. But yeah, he's done so much work on the show. And I think that this particular award feels like almost like a lifetime achievement award. Like I think a lot of the fans just kind of want to recognize that, because he's kind of more than a guest actor, but he was technically a guest actor this season because he only appeared in pretty much that episode. So,
and I'm sure being a stuntman is one of the most, underappreciated positions in the industry. Because so often when you praise an action sequence, you praise either the character or the actor. Very rarely, if ever, do you praise the stuntman or woman. So the fact that we're giving the stuntman, a stuntman, we're recognizing that talent is pretty rare. So.
It occurred to me one day when people were going on and on about like how good some actor's butt looked in an action scene, and I'm like, I bet that's the stuntman. Just a random thought, but they did a lot on Tumblr, so I was like, but that's
Tumblr
not Chris.
Talking about butts. Wow.
I was like, I bet that's not Chris Evans.
It's Game of Thrones, so
butt talk on the internet. What?
There's nothing wrong with butt talk, but I was like, I don't think that's his butt. So. Yeah. Is that stunt butt? So
the stunt butt. Oh my god,
it's the stunt butt. So.
I would say just one thing about Vladimir Furtick and his performance is that they decided early on not to let the Night King talk because they thought it would be too corny, and it'd be really easy for this character to be corny, where he's walking around with his ice crown thing, and he's like for some reason showing off his guns with the sleeveless vest thing he's got going on, and he really has to sell that this is a scary, terrifying, and strong character while performing like the moves that they're telling him to do. It has to look impressive or else it comes off really stupid. And he did a great job with that.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that taking over the part from Richard Brake, a lot of people really loved Richard Brake's face and did not like the change. And Richard Brake does have like a really unique expression, and he would have been great too if he'd kept up with it. But I think he did make the role his own, as much as you can, like with all the prosthetics and all that. So for a guy who's not traditionally an actor, I think he did a pretty damn good job. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is Best New Costume of Season 8.
Ooh, can I read this one?
Sure.
Great. Best New Costume, we have Daenerys's suede gray leather coat dress with red seams, Sansa's black leather armor dress, the red inflected updated version of Daenerys's fur coat, Daenerys's black leather embossed riding coat with red details, and Sansa's elaborate coronation gown.
Let's see here.
I just wanted to comment that I remember that people saw Sansa's her kind of like weirdly armored look, and they were complaining that Sansa had requisitioned dragonglass to make herself out of dress out of dragonglass, and that the North would not be able to fight against the White Walkers because she had taken all the dragonglass. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Wow.
I'm in love with that black dress. I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. It's like bondage and war, and it's the greatest thing. My other favorite dress really didn't make the top 5, which was one of Cersei's red velvet dress it just had some detailing that was really just beautiful. And I think it came in at like number 6 or 7 in the preliminaries. And of course, her coronation dress is just so incredibly beautiful and detailed. Sansa they just really went to town on her costumes this year. And I appreciate it because a lot of her gowns in the first few years were sort of drab, and I don't know. She just really came into her own this year as like a woman, and I feel like they showed that. So,
I liked how you can trace her character arc based on her costumes. I mean, very clearly, that's probably true of all the characters to some extent, but I think Sansa, because she does love fashion and she embraces that, it's more of an explicit reflection of where she is. And I do enjoy the chains and the belts and this really like guarded aesthetic that she's gone for. And it's a little tragic because she's reached this point through so much trauma, but it is such a beautiful like way of manifesting that into.
All right. Let's find out who won.
The winner was Sansa's elaborate coronation gown, coming in at 60.17%.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked. I appreciated the dress more after I read. I can't remember the costume designer's name off the top of my head. Anyone got it?
Michelle Clapton.
Thank you. She talked about how she integrated all of her family members into the costume. And that is a level of detail that I certainly did not pick up when I watched that scene, for sure. But there's so much thought that went into that, as that being, Sansa's final image, how she has completed the show. This is where she is, and she carries her loved ones with her. It's just a pretty fucking dress. It's just very, very pretty to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it has details that have even allusions to people like Marjorie. I mean, it's every person that she learned from is there in that dress. So she will carry every lesson with her as she rules as Queen of the North. I mean, it's so symbolic. It's just so rich. It's everything. It's pretty genius. So I think that's a very worthy winner. Okay, let's see here. The all-around best quote of season 8 is up next. Let's see. I had that right in front of me. Okay.
Ooh, do I get to read them?
If you want to, go for it.
I don't know. It depends on if y'all want to be embarrassed or not.
Yes.
I do.
I want Oz to read them.
You need a different accent for every person.
Yeah, I know, but it's so bad.
It better be goddamn authentic, Oz. It better be so
bad,
good.
But it's not gonna be, y'all. Y'all know this. You make fun of me the whole thing.
Not true.
What's your problem with that?
We have faith in you, Oz. You can do it. You can
It'll
do
be
it.
lovely.
We're on
do
all
great.
around best quote, correct?
Yes.
All around best quote.
I'm
yes.
struggling. I know. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves.
So Oz's voice acting's so good, you guys all agree, right?
He's going to nail this. I know he will.
He's gonna read from. He's gonna do audiobooks next.
Okay.
Oh my
all right,
God.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All around best quote of season 8. All right. The first one is from Bran. Theon, you're a good man. Thank you.
Chills.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's no response. All right. The next one.
I was in awe.
Bran. Everything you did brought you where you are now, where you belong. Home.
You actually have Isaac with you doing these lines, right?
Yeah. He's he had to go to the bathroom, but yeah, he's coming right back.
Right on.
All right, Melisandre. What do we say to the god of death? And then this is Arya, and which I didn't need to tell y'all because you'll recognize it as soon as I say it. Not today.
Oh my God, Maisie.
Nailed it.
Right. Perfect.
Stunning.
Maisie was over last night. All right. All right. This is John. Love is my death of duty.
Well, almost.
Tyrion says, you just came up with that. John says, Maester Aemon said it a long time ago. Tyrion says, sometimes duty is the death of love. And yeah, it's bad, y'all. I'm sorry. And the last one is Jaime. In the name of the warrior, I charge you to be brave. In the name of the father, I charge you to be just. In the name of the mother, I charge you to defend the innocent. Arise, Brienne of Tarth, a knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Woo!
And I only aced that one because I got to meet Nikolai. So he taught me how to do it. And so I was doing it wrong. And then on the elevator, he told me how to do it right.
Well,
Just for tonight, yeah.
Well done. Well done.
When you guys got dinner together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We had some...
Did you do the Lady in the Tramp thing where you
tuna
both
tartare.
eating the same spaghetti noodle and then you met at the middle?
Yeah, it was very close. His wife jumped in and said, no, not so fast. And but she was very sweet. And I got a little bit too close to her lips. And Nikolai didn't like that. But it was all good after that. We jumped on the elevator and went to the pool and had a dip.
You've lived a full life, Oz.
No. It's all because of you guys. And because life is beautiful. And Joe knows how to get on YouTube. And
I do.
yeah.
He's good at that.
All right. So, which of those horrible imitation quotes do you guys like?
I mean, everyone knows which one I'm gonna pick. It's the Maester Aemon one because Maester Aemon's the best and he's my favorite, and that like hit me right in the feels the whole way. Like that was it. I was freaking out on Twitter. I was freaking out on my own. I was like, they actually brought up Maester Aemon again. He's not actually dead. John remembered him. John remembered something. He knew things.
I do
Yeah.
like it when they kind of take texts from earlier seasons and they reanalyze them as the characters who have developed. That's always a fun thing.
It would be a very Tyrion thing for him to hear some like a pearl of wisdom and like try to one up it. I can do
It
better
would
than
be.
that.
Right.
Yeah,
Like-
Tyrion would definitely do that.
My partiality, of course, goes to Theon, you're a good man.
Shocker.
It's very simple, but I remember the first time I watched that scene, Bran says Theon, and there's that pause, and I thought, what could he possibly say that would actually like this is going to be it. This is the last thing that Theon hears. How do you finish his arc with a single line? And when it was "You're a good man," that was unexpected for me, and it absolutely, I felt nailed what Theon needed to hear at the end of his life.
Yeah. I mean,
he did need to hear it. It was a sort of redemption for him, and I was, I think we were all, convinced that it was going to happen. Some type of redemption arc was going to happen for
Yeah.
Theon, and that was, I think, probably very fulfilling to him, and probably one of the reasons that he chose to, do what he tried to do to the Night King. And, yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, because Theon had captured Winterfell, and right before he gets knocked unconscious by his own men, he was talking about his big heroic charge out the gates into glory. And so then he got to do that 6 seasons later inside the Godswood.
It is funny how that speech does reflect into his actual death scene. But specifically in regards to his relationship with Bran, so much baggage is between them for him to recognize. And I know he's a three-eyed raven now. I get it. But even so, for Bran to recognize Theon as a good man is pretty huge.
Yeah, and it takes me back to what you were saying, Patrick, about when the guys knocked him out when he was doing his speech at Winterfell, and like one of the worst parts about watching Theon come back and take Winterfell was Bran's reaction to it, right? Because he was just so upset, and he was like, "Please, Theon, don't do this," and just didn't understand why he was doing it. And I think Theon and Petra, you tell me, because I mean you've studied Theon and know it really. Honestly, you really have. But like, it's almost like that probably meant the most to him after seeing how he broke Bran's heart when he did what he did at Winterfell, and then for Bran to be able to say that right before he died, and to put those two things together, I don't know, just that was powerful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as a sequel to his conversation with Jon, where he said, "I always wanted to be the right kind of person," for Bran to confirm, like, yeah, you're broken, and you've for everything you've done, you're still a good man. That was a lot. Not to detract from all the other wonderful quotes, but obviously that's the line that gives me maximum feels.
Especially because he didn't run away this time. He stood his ground. No jumping off the boat with a perfect swan dive.
Why you got to be that way?
No.
I don't have the time to like turn into a debate about that. So I'm just gonna let it go.
You're right. We don't have the time. Let's find out who the winner is.
All right. The winner is Jaime's knighting of Brienne of Tarth.
It's a beautiful scene.
That's correct.
Really beautiful moment.
Probably the best of the season.
Yeah. Straightforward, elegant. A lot of it, I think a lot of the reason people voted for it is in the performance. It was like a prayer, it was, and the way they just looked at each other, and it was just very beautiful, holy kind of moment. So,
and Jaime
it's
being genuine.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to how, when Jaime is listing the things that a knight should be, you can kind of recognize that that's what Brienne already is. All the things that he says a knight should, you to be brave, to be just, to defend the innocent. We've already seen Brienne do all of those things. So it's, validation that she is, a true knight and always has been.
Yeah. Yep. So it's no surprise at all that would be the winner. All right, we're going to do best death scene up next. This is always slightly ghoulish, but actually fun because Game of Thrones has tons of death scenes. This year, our 5 finalists all came from the same episode, which was kind of funny given there were a lot of complaints about that episode's visibility. Apparently, everybody could see the death scenes well enough. But it's my little joke there. But yes, the nominations the finalists for best death scene were Melisandre walks out of Winterfell at dawn and gives up her life. Lyanna Mormont dies after killing a white giant with her last breath. Theon defends Bran to the very end in the Godswood. The Night King falls to Arya's blade and shatters. Jorah Mormont dies protecting his Khaleesi in battle. So what do you think?
I gotta go with Melisandre for all the reasons we talked about earlier. That was my favorite one. That was poetic and very beautiful to watch, and it made complete sense for her character. I mean, a lot of people were upset with the way that they thought that some characters ended, but definitely not Melisandre. That was exactly her and how she should go out.
I agree.
Yeah, I think I voted for Theon, but I would have, also I kind of felt the same way about Melisandre's. I thought hers was perfect. I mean, I was pretty happy with all the finalists. That this one I recall being hard to vote for. Lyanna, I'm always back and forth on how to pronounce that, but the white giant scene, that's one of those action moments that I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes people might critique it as being too over the top, but I kind of, you want big moments in in a show like that. And we always knew that she was absolutely gung-ho, and it might be a stretch to even think that they would let someone as young as her be out in that area. But she's, a lady in her own right, and she can make that decision. They can't technically force her. So once you make that leap of logic, it's like, all right, she's out there in the battle. So, once you take that leap of logic, it was a very affecting moment. And like, oh God, she's getting killed. And then, oh crap, she's stabbing it. And it just made me think of that moment in the first season when, old Dan is telling the story about the giant in the big blue eye. And I don't know, it just took me back to that for a second. It felt like some sort of weird homage, like a weird throwback. So I don't know. I think that all of the finalists were pretty good finalists. So, most of the time I felt pretty strongly about what should be the winner. But in this category, I was kind of like, they're all pretty good finalists.
So I guess I don't disagree with that. I mean, I do like all of them who are nominated. I think I have a different take. I probably did vote for Jorah. Looking over that, I don't remember, but I more than likely voted for him. But the person that I think is better, like the better death than all of them, literally my favorite death in the entire series was Qyburn's death. I was so surprised that didn't make the cut because you see the reaction because it was the most perfectly timed. Like George's big thing is always like his problem with fantasy had always been like people always write about the epic highs. But what about like the long sieges that get drawn out? What about people just like dying of the pumps? What about like random happenstance? Oh, a brick falls on someone and like Qyburn's so
Sorry,
out
a brick?
What?
Sorry, did you just ask for a brick to fall on someone?
Yeah. It's just like the random happenstance that is like so unrelated to anything that's happening. Like he says a line and the mountain just stubs him, and then they fight. It like did justice to the character for me in ways that I guess other people could dislike, but he went out perfectly.
I think that
He did.
been one of the funniest moments.
Yeah, it was great.
It was
So good. Anyway, that's my favorite.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think Qyburn is just not popular enough a character to garner the votes in the preliminaries.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of that.
I found it more memorable, I guess, is probably the best word for it. But yeah.
I just remember so many of my theories died during the season. So all the deaths that I paid attention to.
So that was the worst death? Was the death of all your theories?
Yes, Pat's theories is the most tragic death. The thing I think is most interesting about this list is the ones that aren't on it. The Daenerys obviously isn't here. Cersei and Jaime's missing. People do not like those.
The Dany scene, I think that was like number 6, and Clegane Bowl was like number 7, so it just missed it. But the more sort of controversial and criticized ones were sort of just
I'm perfectly fine with the deaths from the Long Night getting nominated. Like I'm not. I was not going to vote for the deaths in the Bells. I'm okay with the poetic kind of character arc conclusions of the Long Night deaths were to me far more satisfying than the ones that we got later on.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's take a look and see who actually won.
Was this one of the closest votes? It's very, very close.
Close. Yeah, it was. There was a difference of 23 votes between the first and second place. I will tell you, the second place winner was the Night King's death. The first place winner was Jorah Mormont dies protecting his Khaleesi. So Jorah won.
It was the best way that character could have died, I think.
Yeah, and it's really good acting. I mean, I think that's probably a lot of the reason it won is I think the emotional aspect. You don't really get necessarily that same emotional, deep catharsis and connection, but with Jorah's death, you have Ian Glenn and Emilia Clarke acting their asses off. You know what I mean? And you have 8 seasons of them with this wonderful connection, and so that was a really good moment for them.
I was pretty glad they went with this instead of Grayscale.
About it at Con of Thrones, like very excited about that.
Yes. Very excited. We can ask England all about it. on stage at Con of Thrones. Yes.
And I'm with you, Joe. I liked if he died of grayscale, provided they set it up, I would have been okay with it. But I like that he got to die in the arms of the woman that he loved, defending her.
Yeah.
And in his homeland. I mean, like, he got to, his exile was, I mean, he did something very dishonorable. So he was exiled for a good reason, but he got that redemption as well. You know what I mean? So he did something to atone for, his crimes. So, he got all those, and I mean, what was one of the sort of the lingering things in the books, I always wondered about like his father and, would he ever get to see him again? And, of course that didn't happen and for various reasons, but I did always love in the show that they gave us that moment of, seeing him react to the news of his father's death without even words. That was such beautiful acting from Ian Glenn. So, I think that we've gotten to see a lot of interesting moments of Jorah's. I feel like redemption is such a simplistic word, but him learning, I guess, how to be a slightly better person. So the end of his journey was very affecting for me. Whereas at the beginning, I think I had, based on the books, I didn't like him nearly as much,
Ian Glenn is much more charming than Jorah Mormont, I will say.
Yeah,
definitely. Most definitely. Okay, so we are going to do another giveaway right now. Let me look at my phone so I can read off the name of this properly. So for those of you listening, I would like you in the post that we have at the website with the one that has the video embedded. So get ready to post to win the Dragon Egg shot glasses, the official ones. So at Dany's wedding, she receives the set of dragon eggs that, her dragons hatch from eventually. Who gifts her the 3 dragon eggs? I need that character's name. So go ahead and if you're the first person to type in that character's name who gifts her it, do your best job spelling it. You will win a set of 3 shot glasses. Okay, and then the next category up is Best Speech of Season 8.
I'll take that category if you want.
Yes, please.
All right, there's 13 entries, which is a crazy amount of entries.
Yes.
So I'll move through this quickly. They're all like monologues in the various episodes, and I'll just randomly spout them off. Dany asked Jon to break the wheel with her. That's in the Iron Throne episode. Tormund shares the origins of his nickname. That's in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Of course, we've talked about that speech a lot. Varys makes a case at Dragonstone. That's the last of the Starks. My man Bronn explains the origins of the noble houses in Last of the Starks. Brienne tells Jaime he's a good man and should stay, the Last of the Starks. And Tyrion pleads with Cersei at the Wall of King's Landing. Does half of them. Jaime recites the oath while knighting Brienne. We just heard that from Oz. Jon Snow gives a eulogy after the battle in The Last of the Starks. Sandor says farewell to Arya in The Bells. Daenerys' victory speech in King's Landing, the Iron Throne. Tyrion remarks on Dany's killing of evil men wherever she goes in the Iron Throne. Tyrion executes a plan and says goodbye to Jaime in The Bells. And Tyrion proposes a new king in a new way in the Iron Throne. All right, so those are our 13 entries.
Wow. I think I don't remember which one I voted for, but right now my heart is going with Jon's eulogy after the battle because it's just powerful. I don't know how else to. Kit really has the command of a leader, but also the heartbreak of somebody who's lost friends. And the entire scene is very well done. The acting and Jawadi's score all add to the atmosphere, but the writing and the delivery of that speech is very, very good.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who I voted for exactly. Like I think I was stuck between a few on this one because whereas, it's not I don't necessarily agree with the content of it, but I did feel like, Amelia's performance in her victory speech, largely in Dothraki, was very powerful. It was a wonderful performance. And I think I also appreciated, when Tyrion talks about his problems with Dany, the whole thing about her killing evil men wherever she goes. Again, I don't necessarily have to agree with everything he's saying to appreciate that it's interesting. He's bringing up a lot of points, and it's a very good performance. I think I thought that the eulogy also was another one that was really good. So I think I went back and forth on this, but I feel like ultimately I voted for Varys. That's some stuff that he gets overlooked a lot, and I think that it's weirdly in line with Varys's character that everything he does just kind of gets overlooked because he melts. Yeah, he melts into the wall, but he says a lot of things that were very interesting and on point about like the realm and everything, and he kind of was right, but
turns out he was,
yeah. But, and I also just thought, of course, the performance is really good as well. So it was just right mix of writing and performance coming together very well. But I thought there were some very strong contenders in the category.
I definitely went for the Jaime reciting the oath while knighting Brienne. That whole episode was just amazing, but in particular the around the fireside and them talking before the battle. But as they get down to it and him taking it seriously and Brienne finally like, as he's talking, starting to believe that this is not a practical joke, that this is finally real, was so well done by everybody, including like even the people watching. Like they did a great job of selling the scene that this was very, very serious in a way that, didn't have to. But I would say my second one, which is kind of a weird one, it was the Bronn explaining the origin of the noble houses. Like it's a silly scene and it kind of comes out of nowhere, but it is important in the sense that, what he's saying is exactly how every one of these houses got to where they were, and it's crude, but I would say it was true, and it's kind of important as you look at the end of Game of Thrones, and it's like, what happens now? Well, he's like, whoever wants it. It's the same way it's always been.
That was one of those lines that reminded me of the earlier seasons when there was more of a moral gradient, when there was more of an acknowledgement that, there's no real good bad binary in this world. So I did appreciate that line too.
I think I liked controversially Tyrion's speech about who should be king, but less so because of who ultimately is king and more so because of the way he spins it.
This is another one where, kind of like the VFX, I have a hard time separating the content and the context from the writing. Because I think all the performances are strong and the writing itself is eloquent consistently. But for me, I can't help but like impose my own preferences for what scenes I liked more. It is hard.
Particularly the Tyrion and Jon one when he's talking about the she kills evil men. Like it's a really good scene between Tyrion and Kit. It's just like, if you just mute it for like 15 seconds, it's probably a lot better. Just like ignore what they're saying and just like what like the performance itself was way better than what they were saying, I would say.
I think they both do a great job at being, especially like Dinklage, at being exhausted and heartbroken, but still having conviction in a way. Like he's making a point that he believes in, but god damn, he's just so sad.
All right, well, to reveal the best speech, it's unsurprisingly it was Jaime reciting the oath while knighting Brienne, because it was such a tremendous moment.
I was so happy. I didn't expect it. That was the thing that really caught me off guard. It was like nobody gets a good ending. I also, by the way, definitely thought, I'm like, okay, so Brienne's dead. Like she's not living now.
So did I.
You get your wish. You die in Game of Thrones instantly afterwards. But it was such a surprise that they really did actually grant one of their characters' dreams, and not in like an evil genie way. This is like just everything she wanted.
Yeah, that's true. I think we were all predicting doom and gloom, and yeah, some people actually got to survive. I think some people were weirdly disappointed by how many people lived, and that's what some of their complaints were about. It was funny how that worked out. They're like, "Oh, it was so happy." Was it? I don't know. All right. Next up is going to be best fight of season 8. Oh, but actually, wait. We do have a winner. For the winner of the dragon egg shot glasses is Heikia Corsi. So congratulations. I'll email you later. Definitely have your contact info. So congrats on that win. All right. So moving on to best fight of season 8. All right, Danelle. Yes, please.
All right, we have Jorah Mormont and Daenerys fight off Whites together. Arya takes on Whites with her customized spear on the ramparts. The Clegane brothers fight to the death. Jon and Daenerys fight the Night King on Dragonback. And Lyanna Mormont faces off against a giant. So there's some do-overs here, but it's specifically in the context of a fight.
I didn't really like the Dragonback John Danny thing because it was so hard to see what was happening. Like, I know it was supposed to seem frenetic, and that's the point. It's like two dragons ripping each other in the clouds, and nobody knows what's happening. But that kind of made it worse for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine. Like, I liked that scene for a lot of reasons, but I wouldn't say it was my favorite fight scene per se. Yeah. Like, just looking at straightforward fight scenes, for this one, I did vote for Arya's scenes just because I just enjoy the skill involved. Watching her go into battle and fight is just so entertaining. Her skill, it's a joy. It's kind of like when Beric points her out to Sandor, you understand why he's galvanized. You know what I mean? Like, she's fighting for life. She's amazing to watch. So she's the real deal.
And it was a payoff for her character to have gone to Braavos and did all the training to then to be able to make use of that. So I enjoyed that as well.
And that was another scene that Vladimir Furdik posted on his Twitter account, the rehearsals for it, not with Maisie, but with Maisie's stunt woman. And again, that gave me such an appreciation for the skill, because in the moment of watching the episode, I just sort of don't always appreciate the artistry of things. I take things for granted. And really watching the development of the movements, the choreography is it's very raw, but it's also, Arya is a skilled fighter, so it's a good combination of those things.
Yeah, that's definitely.
So I definitely went for Arya.
So the winner is the Clegane brothers fight to the death, winning with 32.9% of the vote. I'll be honest, I did not like Clegane Bowl. So not to negativity, I did not like it. So this is not the winner that I would have chosen. But that's how it goes.
You're not alone.
Yeah. Like, I liked parts of it, but I didn't love it. So I was not one of those people who was always invested in the idea of Clegane Bowl. Yeah. Like, I'm glad they had some kind of confrontation, but I actually felt like I don't know, some parts of it were bombastic. Obviously, I liked the part where Qyburn and Cersei were there.
Cersei sneaking by.
She just pieces out down the stairs.
Yeah.
There was no reason I think it had to happen aside from some people wanted it. It made less sense story-wise, but what they did was pretty good.
Yeah, for me, it was it was fine. I didn't hate it. It was fine.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I think
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think sometimes people feel like on the internet they have to be extreme. Like, I hated it. I loved it. Sometimes some things are fine. It just, yeah.
It like weirdly reminded me of 300, that scene where the giant guy comes out with the giant sword and he just won't die. It was that again. I was like, all right, so 300 or Zach, what's his name? Zach. What's his name? Zack Snyder for some reason showed up in Game of Thrones season 8. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's why I thought bombastic. It was just
the way that they both fall through the brick wall felt a bit. This is Sparta. This is King's Landing. That was reminiscent,
exactly.
I think.
It's a bit much. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a bit fan service, right? I mean, because it's only been talked about since I've been watching the show. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know how they get out of not doing it, but I guess you could have. But I don't know. One way or the other, you're going to get bashed if you do it. You do it a bad way, it's not good. If you don't do it, then why didn't you ever have it? And I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys are book readers, so like.
I mean, even my dad was expecting Clegane Bowl. He was just like expecting those two to fight. So if my dad expects it to happen, probably it's going to happen.
I mean, in context, the Clegane Bowl theory. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's specifically because in the books, the Hound has become the gravedigger, and so he's part of the faith. Mm-hmm. So the assumption is that there's going to be a trial by combat for Cersei's trial by the High Sparrow, and that she will name the mountain her champion, and the faith will name the Hound. So there's like a clearly set up reason why they would fight. And so and I think we were all kind of anticipating that in season 6. And then Tommen announces that he's no longer going to do trial by combat. And it's like, okay, you have made the decision to write out the in-universe reason for Clegane Bowl to take place. Don't do that and then do Clegane Bowl instead.
Yeah, but I mean, not for us to spend all night arguing, but the classic Clegane Bowl made no sense to me that the Hound would end up being the faith champion, whereas the Hound and his brother just fighting randomly, I think made more sense to me in universe.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, actually. I never thought it made sense.
The book Clegane Bowl thing really, it kind of fails on one big part, is that Sandor Clegane is much more repentant and like done with his life of vengeance in the books than he is in the show. Like, he does the thing with Brother Ray, and he's like trying to turn over a new leaf, and then instantly starts killing people with an axe. That's very different from what he does in the books.
One episode of repentance, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much.
It's cool. Whatever. It's fine. It looked fine.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is best battle. Well, this should probably be a quick one to figure out. I'll just read them off for you. So the best battle of season 8, just a few nominations. So Daenerys battled Euron's Iron Fleet in Last of the Starks. There was also the Battle of King's Landing in The Bells. And then we had the battle for Winterfell in The Long Night. Thoughts?
Battle for Winterfell for me.
Yeah. Although I will say the Daenerys swooping down on the water and blowing up all the ships before the actual sack of King's Landing starts was incredible to see.
But weirdly, that's not actually the one. The one they have on the poll is the one before where she didn't attack the ships in the last Starks. So it's a weird. Because I agree with you. I think that Daenerys right before the battle in the Bells blowing up the ships was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would have voted for if that had been clear.
The battle is the entire battle. Like sometimes YouTube literally only lets you post like 10 minutes at a time or so.
No,
so
less.
you can, I mean, or it depends on how much whatever.
But no, I agree
YouTube stuff.
I agree.
Yeah. But, so don't go by what the videos are. Those are just snippets. So when we put up like the battle, they should be voting for the entire battle, not just what's in the video. So, but so for me, I'm pretty sure I voted for the Battle of Winterfell, but I mean, I thought we're all I'm trying to remember. Yeah, pretty sure I voted for the Battle of Winterfell. I think I didn't hate the bells, but I did feel like it was like kind of started off really strong and then it kind of loses focus. Whereas I felt like the pacing on the long night was better in terms of the tension. I mean, it's pretty relentless to the point of being almost too much, but it works. Whereas Bells is, maybe because of plot reasons, it is scattered a bit like that. But overall, as a battle, I feel like the Winterfell just works better.
Yeah.
And obviously, stuff happens in the Bells that some people don't like, so they're not going to vote for it.
Well, that's not a problem for me personally.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to hear the winner?
Yes.
The winner was the Battle for Winterfell and the Long Night.
Shocker.
It's funny that the pie chart that announces it's all the Battle of Winterfell color. Like, there's a little sliver for the Daenerys battle with Euron, and it's just all the dark green for the Battle of Winterfell.
The last one was even barely like a battle. It was a quick little,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's about as long as battles were in some other episodes in the past. We've just gotten spoiled.
The main reason to vote for
episodes is restraint. They're not padded, so
yes, restraint has been a bit an issue.
I would say the main reason to vote for the Bells would definitely just be Harry Strickland's face. That really elevates it.
There's a writer for TV Guide who I always do the write up. I would include him in my recaps, and his Facebook profile is still Harry's face running like this. It pops up on my feed all the time. It's great.
That's definitely. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next up we're going to do is Best Dramatic Scene of Season 8. Who would like to do that one? It's a big category.
I'll find that. Okay. For all the drama of Season 8, it has been narrowed down to these 5. The people in Winterfell, ready for battle to the sound of Jenny of Oldstones. Battle of Winterfell, the Dothraki charge. They're flaming Arakas. I've never known how to pronounce that. Arak go out, and the dead come. The climactic sequence of the Long Night. Theon and Jorah fall, and Arya kills the Night King. The knighting of Brienne of Tarth by Jaime Lannister. And Jon kills Daenerys, and Drogon destroys the Iron Throne. A lot of drama.
I mean, Jenny's song, hands down.
Yeah, I'm really glad that there's a reference to the song. I agree.
Yeah. I don't even remember who I voted for, but it had to be that one. It had to be. I agree.
I do want to. I love Jenny's song as well. I do want to say that the Long Night sequence with the death scenes, Jorah and Theon's death scenes, I like the use of music in a similar vein to the Light of the Seven. You hear the piano music and you know it's different. It's a musical motif that we haven't heard before. And so it is a really effective way of getting our attention and sort of shifting the tone of that scene. So probably, I guess, I want to nominate the music from that scene more than the scene itself, but it is a really beautiful use of music, as of course is the literal Jenny of Oldstone song.
Yeah, I actually voted for the climactic sequence of the Long Night because we see that whole sequence. I mean, you couldn't really separate them into separate scenes because it is one sequence, but it has the Theon and Jorah scenes that blend together, and it's the way they use that piece of music. I mean, it's clearly kind of a callback to the Winds of Winter sequence, with the wildfire, and but it's kind of like that's dark twin with the Night King. I guess him and Cersei are like human, supernatural kind of twins in a way. And I just thought it was so beautiful, and I've watched it so many times since then, and it's still so powerful with Theon and Jorah, and I still get teary-eyed over it, and it's still so effective on me. I feel like the Jenny of Oldstones, it's still very lovely, but a lot of it's just very sentimental. And sentimental, I mean, just for me personally, that only goes so far. I ultimately need kind of more. That's just kind of how I feel about it.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm going to mull over this now.
I don't know. It gives me chills. It's really, I really like this.
And Daniel Portman's surprising singing voice.
Yeah.
And Petros, let's not forget.
Oh yes, Petra's at Con of Thrones.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Could hear like the entire hall turns to look at Petra. Everybody stopped talking. It was amazing.
It was.
That was fun.
Yeah, I think everybody was crying. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Do we get a repeat of that this year, Petra?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out, won't we?
Well, that's worth the price of admission. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So the winner.
So the winner is, I just see that right here. The winner is, it was actually decently close, but it is indeed the Knighting of Brienne.
Okay. That is a beautiful scene. I feel like we've already talked about it so much that I don't have anything more to add. But it is unto itself a gorgeously executed scene.
Mm-hmm.
Every other thing is also like so depressing, and this is a good one. This is like a happy one.
Yeah, I think people wanted happy. People want happy.
Drama. People want like sad.
Yes.
But it's
it's hard to argue with people wanting happy in a world of misery.
Yeah, after 8 seasons and being punched in the face, finally, like, they held one back. Like, yeah, gotcha.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so who wants to do Best Leading Actor? We only just have a few more categories left.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, take it
Unless
away.
somebody desperately wants to, but all right, there are 4 categories, or there are 4 entries here in the category. There's Isaac Hempstead Wright as Bran Stark. There is Kit Harington as Jon Snow, Nikolai Coster-Waldau as Jaime Lannister, and last but not least, Peter Dinklage as Tyrion Lannister.
Thoughts?
It's hard. I think Kit does Heartbreak really well, and especially his utter devastation in the Bells and the Iron Throne was really, for whatever reason, I don't remember who I voted for, but that's what's sticking out to me right now.
I did feel like Kit had done his best work. I mean, when he's totally broken by, being confronted with this choice, and, he's been presented with various sets of morals throughout his life and sort of these codes. Follow this code, Ned's code, the Night's Watch code, and then Dany's kind of own set of very black and white, all these big different rigid codes start to conflict, and you can see him just kind of breaking. So watching him kind of break down like that, I thought he did a pretty amazing job. So that's why I voted for Kit Harington.
I thought he did a really good job too. When in the last episode, it skips ahead a couple of months, and he's obviously been in the dungeon, and that's kind of a confusing type time frame as to how long he's been incarcerated or whatever. And I thought that part really helped sell it for me, like how long it had been, because he was down and beard had grown, and obviously he looked scruffy, he looked exhausted, whatnot. So I thought that was really, really good as well.
I was like, Nikolai, in fairness, I thought he did. His scene with Brienne when he breaks her heart. I mean, sorry, 1 second. All right, I'm going to mute myself and cough, but Nikolai did a good job.
Well, while she's coughing, I'll just say that Nikolai Coster-Waldau deserves like a couple Emmys that he should have gotten, because he's so good in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, I know there's obviously been tons of criticism that we don't really have to rehash about all of Jamie's storyline, but I mean, Nikolai really worked his butt off trying to sell it. I mean, you know, when he talks about it, you can see he's really put into a lot of thought into why Jamie would be doing what he's doing. You know, he's very thoughtful. You know, he's very passionate about it, and you know, he performed it. For whatever criticisms people have, you can't say that, you know, Nikolai didn't put his best into it. And, you know, it is a beautiful performance.
Petra, did you want to say something about one of the? Did you want to say something about Nikolai?
No, it's basically already been said.
Oh, okay.
Hacking up along, but you guys already covered it. So good job, team.
I guess one thing is that Isaac Hempstead, right, playing Bran this season when they essentially told him he has no personality anymore, and you kind of have to play him as like a living god who's like above everything. He did probably the best you could with that. That's such a hard thing. Like maybe Carice was like the only person that did better with that job in Game of Thrones, where you had to be something more than human, and he tried, and I thought it came off pretty well. It's just like it's such a flat character; it's hard to reward it, I guess.
It was particularly good in the council room where he was talking to Sam about how he was the Earth's memory, and then Sam gets to kind of like play off of that with like lots of like humanity for that, kind of like interpreting what Bran is kind of saying in context. So, but I agree with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see who won. Do you want to tell us?
Oh, is it me? I'm sorry. Nikolai.
Okay. Oh, good.
Nikolai won.
Okay.
And he won with almost 40%. It was not a bad showing for him. Yeah, with Peter Dinklage coming in second.
You surprised that Kit came in third? I was.
Oh, did you think Isaac would be third?
No, I thought Kit. I mean, I thought that Kit would have a stronger showing just based on it being the last season.
Yeah, but against Dinklage and Nikolai, I mean, they're really good. So I was not surprised. My
feeling is that Kit was being penalized for his character's choices. Fans have a way of often doing that because they're mad at his character. People don't always want to vote for what the character has done. It's kind of like there were a lot of scenes that were Dany's scenes that probably should have been voted for, but people don't like the content of those scenes, even though the effects in the scene were really great. You know what I mean? It's like, so I feel like that is maybe an issue.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
For me at least.
Yes. So it's a rough gig. Rough life to lead. All right. Let's see here. Next up is Best Leading Actress. I guess I'll take this one away. So Best Leading Actress of Season 8. We have Maisie Williams as Arya Stark. Sophie Turner as Sansa Stark. Lena Headey as Cersei Lannister, and Emilia Clarke as Daenerys Targaryen. I feel like, all right, let's see here. Yeah, so these are our leading ladies of season 8.
I think Daenerys had the most dynamic performance of them all. I mean, Daenerys's downfall is pretty huge turn, and I think Emilia, I believed it. I think it's what you were just talking about, Sue. I have a very hard time differentiating between the content and the performance here, but I 100% believed Emilia in each stage of her descent.
Yeah, she was pretty remarkable in everything she did. I mean, I think pretty much everyone has talked about how that season 8 had issues with being rushed. That's sort of the key word of the year, right? But she made it work. So love it or hate it, pretty much I think everyone to a man has agreed that she had a pretty great performance. I feel like Lena, there were some issues where she just didn't have a lot of screen time. So a lot of times she was just reacting rather than getting a lot of opportunities to act. But, her final scenes were like really beautifully done, and I'm not like a big Cersei Jaime shipper. I'm not really about that life. But, I did feel bad for her in those final moments where, she's finally back with Jaime and you're like, oh, God, this character is such a mess, and she's always been very good at showing Cersei's vulnerable side despite all the ugly things that Cersei has done. And I feel like she's a pretty remarkable creation of a character, and a lot of that can really, really be attributed to Lena.
I think her last minute panic and her pleading for her baby's life was really powerful.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, gentlemen?
I would say, like, for Daenerys, the one thing that really sold it, like the thing that was like, yeah, she wins this season, was, I mean, you can question the wisdom of deciding to have her basically not say why she's going to do what she's going to do. But when you get Emilia Clarke up on Drogon looking over the city, and she does it all with face acting and makes you believe it, it's like, yeah, she absolutely crushed it. She put the season on her back. And I think if her ending had gone differently, people would essentially be clamoring for her probably to win all the awards in real life.
I agree.
It's just that they didn't, like you were saying, Sue, they didn't like where she went, so she's getting penalized, but undoubtedly she did an incredible job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like you've been saying the whole time. It's disassociating specifically what is happening with what you're thinking about. Right now you're thinking about her performance, nothing about the direction of her character. And it's like, separating those is an important thing when you're trying to know what you're assessing.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so as far as the winner, I think it's probably not surprising at all that Emilia Clarke won with almost 61% of the vote.
Damn.
Nice.
Yeah. Very commanding win. Maisie Williams was second place with 21%. So there you have it. Congratulations, Emilia Clarke. Well earned.
Daenerys wins something, so.
Yes. Most definitely deserved that. We have one more giveaway to do, and then we are going to go ahead and do the final category after this. So for those of you all listening in, all right, so get ready. Get ready to type. Okay. So the question is this. In order to win, we have the brand new Sansa Stark coronation gown that we just discussed, that one that won. So, that won the best new costume. We have that coronation pop Funko. So if you want to win the new Sansa coronation gown pop Funko, can you tell us? So Sophie Turner has earned only one Emmy nomination for her role. We need you to be the first person to tell us what year was that in. Go type that in a post. Go do that now. Be the first person to tell us, and you win the Funko. Okay. All right. So who would like to take on best episode?
Oh, boy.
Yes, who wants the honors of the final category?
I'll go ahead.
Yes.
So, there's only 6 choices. So we have The Long Night, Winterfell, The Iron Throne, Last of the Starks, The Bells, and A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I thought there was a pretty clear fan favorite in this season. Mine too. It was episode 2, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Felt much. A lot of people thought it was sort of a throwback to the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, where they went really hard on detail and nostalgia and completing all these threads they'd left behind. But they, instead of just like completing like a checklist like you see in some like the end of some series or the end of like movie series. They did it organically and made it feel amazing, which and happy, which for before a battle where you expect 90% of the cast to die, I think it was really an incredible episode.
I think. Oh, Pat.
Oh no, please. I'll talk after you.
I've been mulling over my thoughts about the Jenny of Oldstones scene since you kind of pointed out that it is sentimental, and I think what's so powerful about that episode is that it does give the characters a chance to rest and talk to one another and kind of come to terms with where they are at that point, because there's not a whole lot of time for sitting and talking afterwards. It's extremely fast-paced after the Night King is killed. And I think the theme of the Jenny of Oldstone song is that, you know, Jenny she lives with grief, she lives with pain, and there's this brief respite that she finds from it. And that's what that episode gives those characters. Brienne's moment is happy, but for the most part, it's a lot of people who are broken in many ways getting this time to think about their own position in the world before, for some of them, they face the mortality.
The second episode was maybe my favorite pick, but I wanted to briefly defend the first episode because a buddy of mine who has not read the books, he watches the show, was so angry with the first episode because he expected it to be like some like crazy action-filled thing like every other first episode of every other season. I thought, what are you talking about? Every episode one, every season are like these like very measured regroupings of what's been going on and setting things up. You know, and it's like no, usually it's like episode 9 where all the stuff happens. So I just wanted to say that this was a really solid season starter of all like the fast-paced things that happened later on. I thought this was a pretty well done intro back into Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I think I actually voted for The Long Night for the best episode. I did love A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but I actually looked back over my reviews like that I did week to week. It's funny. It cracks me up because people always say that like I don't criticize the episodes, and I'm like, damn, there's like a lot of criticisms. I don't think people actually read what I write, but yeah. So I had to like sort of refresh my memories. Like, what did I actually think? Like right out the gate, because then we spend so much time picking over them that sometimes I think we soften with time, and we forget what our real reactions were. But when I watched The Long Night, it totally blew me away. I mean, I was like sitting on the ottoman, just like, oh, like I could not look away. I mean, it was terrifying, but I just could not look away for that whole span of time. So yeah, something as powerful as that, I just feel like it had to get my vote for the best episode.
That's fair.
Go ahead.
I definitely voted for episode 1. I all the praise was for episode 2. The majority of like the favoritism went toward episode 2, and I get that. But I've always liked first episodes, and I know a lot of people can find like, all right, get to it. It's what I love is the build up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
My favorite episode of season 7 as well. Yeah, was episode 1. There are individual moments in other episodes that are really cool and really good, but I like slowly paced Game of Thrones drama, and that's my personal favorite kinds of stuff, because I think the small moments are what make the big moments good. Without the small moments, big moments are just spectacle.
Dave, I agree 100%. And that's the ones that I look forward to the most were the ones that I knew there was not a big battle coming or something, a lot of executions or a lot of, swords and whatnot, because the thing that made The Long Night special for me, as Sue was talking about, was what happened in episode 2, which is basically a reinvestment in the characters, understanding that they were not all going to survive. it was a bad time, and they're all trying to enjoy the time that they have left, not knowing what the future held. And you knew it was coming. You didn't know who it was for. But to me, episode 2 is what made episode 3 so special, in that build up. And you realize how long we've been with these characters, how how much investment we all have in them. And it was, it was beautiful. I don't know, that part of me, that part of it was beautifully done. Especially, I mean, even in episode 1 and 2 was a build up for 3. Is what made 3 so good. If you hadn't had that, then 3 is not nearly as strong, I don't think, because of it. So, yeah, good points.
Yeah.
I'm also just quickly going to defend the bells. I actually, that was my second favorite episode of the season, and it's the exact opposite of the way I felt about the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where it was so destructive, just like a total gut punch. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It hurt to watch, but a hurt that felt that I enjoyed as much as I enjoyed the nostalgia in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the sum of all its parts,
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think they're all actually good episodes. It's just some are better than others. I think we've all been very spoiled by the quality of Game of Thrones, so that when one episode is not as good, we're like, oh, that sucked. But it's but it's still way better than watching 2.5 Men. So,
Shots fired.
Well,
What a bar.
Charlie Sheen's coming for you. He's coming right now with his tiger blood.
Winning. So,
Winning.
Yeah, but I always remember that article I read years ago in Entertainment Weekly. It was a whole ranking of episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they were defensively in advance explaining their ranking system. And they're A, B, C, D, E, F, and they're like, hey, just so you know, a D grade episode of Buffy is still better than an A episode of Nash Bridges. So I've never forgotten that. It just helps me keep it in perspective. Yes, some episodes are not as good, but it just makes you think of all these, sorry if you're a big fan of Chicago PD or whatever, but all these TV shows, and I'm like, God, what is this? And I can't even watch them for 5 minutes. They're so bad. So we're just lucky to have this show that's so interesting that we can discuss it for hours on end. So we're lucky. #blessed. Yeah, so let's find out what the official winner is.
So with 55.46% of the vote, I don't think anybody's surprised. Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
I'm happy with that answer.
But second place was The Long Night, followed by The Bells.
Interesting. Okay.
I thought The Bells would be way lower. The lowest one's actually Last of the Starks. Nobody liked Last of the Starks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All
I would
right.
probably put The Last of the Starks as the last one as well for me.
It's kind of,
Yeah, I think it's very controversial because of, killing Rygel ingloriously and then executing Missandei.
Yeah.
But I rewatched a fair amount of it just in the course of getting ready for and doing all these award posts and stuff. And it actually has a lot of good stuff in it. I think we just overlooked that in our haste of reacting to a very controversial ending, which it's fair to have that reaction, but there is other good stuff in there.
They had that great coffee cup, so.
yeah.
The coffee cup that launched 1,000 memes.
Episodes. There's a lot of it might get brought down by certain things, and in my mind, I think I wrote this in my review, which I think I actually wrote for Watchers. This one, that episode felt so long because it felt like 2 different episodes, right? Because the first 45 minutes are just in Winterfell, which could have just been an episode. They didn't need to have an action scene later. Then they went to King's Landing, and in the span of a half hour, the season worth of plot happened. So it felt like 2 different stories. So
Yeah, it needed to be expanded into 2 different episodes.
yeah.
That's that whole pacing and rushing. And so our final winner of the evening is Erin M. So she will be winning the Sansa Funko. Congratulations, Erin M. And I just want to say, Mao made an interesting comment in comments here about how Peter Dinklage has never won an award, and he is correct. I think that comes up every year that Peter never wins because every year somebody else kind of steals his thunder. It's true.
Interesting.
I think there's another factor. It's the simple fact that Peter Dinklage just doesn't have the fandom power in terms of, Nikolai Coster-Waldau has like a really strong fan base. So does Kit Harington, obviously. The year that Alfie Allen won, that was like his big year with like season 2 and like it was just like a big year for Alfie. But the years, sometimes fandom just is what it is. Peter just doesn't have like, sort of people going and voting in groups for him in quite the same way. So that's part of it. But people do maybe take him for granted just because he's out there winning awards officially. So people maybe want to give some love to the people who aren't getting the awards officially. Mm-hmm. So that could be part of it.
Interesting. I'm surprised because I thought Tyrion, maybe not in the later seasons so much, but he used to be a fan favorite. Was he not? Or have I been living? Yeah, okay.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
He's not really among like, Tumblr or, only in certain corners. Like, I think it's one of those things where people sort of overrate his, like,
okay.
I really don't see people walking around quoting him, cosplaying as him, obsessing over him. It's one of those things where people say, "Oh, everyone loves Tyrion," and I'm kind of like, "Who though? Who's that?" You know what I mean? I'm like,
it's a lot of book fans because his internal monologue is so much more interesting than what we see in Game of Thrones because he's so clever and he's so wrapped up in his own head that it kind of gets. It's sort of the Jon Snow problem a little bit, where Jon's internal monologue is fascinating, but his outwards actions are way less. So Kit Harington kind of like gets the brunt of that. Tyrion and Peter Dinklage a little bit too.
Yeah, Tyrion is one of my favorite book characters, absolutely. But of course they made him a lot less gray in the show, so it's just, it's an adaptation side effect. It just kind of is what it is. But yeah, but I don't know. I think people just vote sort of differently. Patterns are different every year. It's kind of interesting to see. But yeah, the dudes who enjoy quoting Tyrion, they're not really the type of people who vote in polls, I think, a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
Or cosplay.
I wish they would. I kind of want everybody to do it and come hang out with us. Come to Con of Thrones and meet Ian Glenn and come hang out with Sam Coleman and watch him do magic tricks. He's awesome. So
such good at card tricks. He's so good at it.
He's amazing. Holy crap. I don't know how he does that. Just whips out a deck of cards and starts doing it. And he does. It's incredible. Okay, so that was our last category. So I guess we're going to wrap it up. But any final words?
I look forward to seeing all of you people in the real world in Orlando this summer.
Agreed.
I can't wait. I'll see you while hanging out with my friend Ian Glenn. And I'll see you guys.
Oh yeah, he's going to the con too. He's not just hanging out with you. Weird. You guys are just taking a bro vacation, huh?
Yeah. Well, we're taking Oz and Kate with us on their date. So.
Oh, sweet! I had no idea. Yes, Ian's actually riding with Dave in an Uber from somewhere.
Fun fact. No, I think if you look at it in the grand scheme, I think season 8. I am stepping back like 6 months since I have literally not watched it since it first came out. I've read a lot about it, and I will obviously sit down and rewatch it fairly soon. It's hard to get past the wall of negativity that a lot of people have said, but I liked it when I saw it, and I still enjoy it, and my opinion hasn't changed. I was prepared years ago when they announced that it was going to be shortened final seasons. I was ready for that, and because of that, I was never nearly as upset as other people were. Yeah, there's individual points that I can get upset about, but on the whole, I think there's an enormous amount of care and work that gets put into it, and I think that comes across. So I still like it. I'm not a corporate shill. I'm not a sellout. I still like it, even if there are some major problems.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to sign off. Good night, everyone, and thank you for spending these hours with us and all these months voting with us and submitting all your ideas and everything. And we'll see you another time. Bye.
Adios.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Well, thank you all very